Okay, I think we're done with the individual shelf now, so I'm going to close that family as we have it embedded in this one. Um, it's part of the family now, nested family. And I'm going to go to let's go to the reference level 1 to create the back element that's going to be back here for the back of the shelf. So I'm going to create an extrusion. Um, and I want that to be on, it looks like it wants me to create it from the front. So I'll create it from the front. We'll create the extrusion and draw the rectangle using the same reference planes we used in the beginning. Lock those and just hit the green checkbox. So now I want to look at a 3D view, and it looks like that's our new extrusion right there. So I want to look at this from a side view. So let's try a right side view. And I can see what the problem is. I want that extrusion to be locked to the back reference plane. And then I want the height of the extrusion to just be 3/4 of an inch. So let's create a dimension. Well, actually, I might not be able to lock that to a dimension, so I'm actually going to create another reference plane. I don't need to name this one, but I want to set the reference plane to 0.75 inches. And then I can lock this to that reference plane. You know what happened there. There we go. I just locked it to the wrong reference plane. And then I want to put a dimension between those reference planes so that they stay locked at the 3/4 of an inch. So let's look at that in the 3D view. And there's our new extrusion back there. It looks like we don't need it to be quite so big. So maybe what I want to do is make that a little bit smaller. So you know what we could lock that to the width and depth parameters, or let's try it this way. I'm going to lock this to that shelf instead. So all I did was just remove the constraints, and that allows me to lock it there. And then I'm going to lock the sides the same way. I'm going to lock it to the inside edge, and we'll see if that works. So you do have to kind of do this twice because we're going to have to select it, remove the constraints, and then lock it. That's what we want to do. So hit remove constraints, then select it again, and lock it to the inside edges of the shelf frame. Now that looks better. So that's the backing of the shelf. And we just want to make sure it's flexing with the model. So we'll use the 2 sizes we have set up and make sure it's not going to change sizes on us. It looks like it's flexing with the rest of the model and it's working. So that's all set. Now I want to create the crown sweep. So I think I want to create that in the front view as well. And we're going to use a molding profile, or you can create your own if you'd like to do your own style for this. The molding profile that we're going to use will be available in the references. So let's just begin. So we're going to create, actually, I'm just going to show you how to create it. We'll just kind of create a molding shape right here on the fly, and then we can you can make your own family profiles and use those, so you can make them very specific to molding shapes. If you have some specific kind of carpentry type dimensions, you could do that. But for today, we're just going to do this on the fly and then I can show you how to load a profile, or you've loaded a profile, I think, in a past video before, and you can therefore you can make your own. So let's start with a sweep. I guess it's been a little while since we've saved the project, so I'm going to save the project. We're in the shelf unit file, so keep track of where you are. And when you go in to create a sweep, you have two things. You have a path you have to create, and you have a profile. So this is the profile over here. So we have to sketch the path first. And this is making me realize we might not be in the correct view to do that with. So we might have to back up here, but I'm going to see if I can go to the reference level and draw the path in this way. So I'm going to sketch the path along the top edge of the shelf unit. And I think I'm at the top edge because I'm looking at the top view, but we might actually have to move that after we view where it is in 3D space. So let's see if it shows us. So see that this is showing us that we're actually at the bottom plane here. Now I can select those items and I can set them to a new work plane. So let's change that to shelf height instead. And that moved the pink line up to the top of the shelf instead of being at the bottom of the shelf. And now I'm ready to create the profile. So what I have to do to create the profile is I have to get out of the sketch of the path, and now I want to sketch the profile. So notice it says sketch profile, and either I can load a profile or I can edit the profile sketch. So I'm going to go in now and sketch the profile. So I'm going to go in by sketch and so I just hit edit profile to do that. And like I said, I'm just going to kind of draw this out as a piece of molding. We'll just get most of the information in there. I'm trying to think what molding looks like now. This will work. We'll do something simple like this and then put an arc in here. So I'll go from the other side and we'll put that arc in here. Right like this. And if you're happy with that profile, great. Or if you want to make some changes to the dimensions, you can select parts of the dimensions and make sure they are set to what you want. You can put dimensions that have constraints. You can lock all that down, for instance. But this is really just to show you the concepts. Now I want the molding, so I can pick this up and move this over so that this corner is at the reference. So we have that molding resting on top of. Now that's going to sweep all the way around the path that we created. So when I hit the checkbox here and then hit the checkbox the last time, we're going to see that molding sweep around the profile of the top of the shelf unit. So I'm going to let you play with the molding profile on your own and maybe come up with something a little bit more accurate, a little bit more realistic. But I think this demonstrates the concept. So again, we don't want to go any further with this until we find out for sure that that molding profile is actually going to flex with the model. So I'm going to switch it to our two different sizes here and make sure the molding stayed put, and it did. And I'm also going to change height. So I'm going to create a new type. 12 inches by 36 inches by 72 inches. And we'll change that to 6 feet and make sure the molding goes with it. And the shelving unit, another shelving unit got added. So everything's working beautifully, and we're ready to start to use this in our an actual project. So I'll open a new project. So let's save it now. Just going to create some quick walls for us to put this into. Add a door, a real door. And maybe some windows. And we're ready to put that shelf unit over here in the corner. So I'm going to load a component, and I have to browse for where it's located on my folder system. You should know where your stuff is in your folder system at home. And there's my shelf unit, which has the nested family. So I'm going to hit open, and all the families I created come in with it, the 3 families. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how to control that, so that we, instead of having every family that we create come in, we can choose the family that we want to bring in. Set these to a different height here. We'll set those to go to 2nd floor. So there's our shelf unit. The other thing we're going to do is make it so we can turn on and off that molding at the top. So go ahead and watch the next video and give you an idea how to create a catalog. And then we'll bring this back into this project and see if everything's working.